Hey, what's up, guys? It's Monday, March 30th, beginning of the third week of the Corona shutdown. If you remember last week, we had the objectives to identify and define the parts of a fillet weld and groove welds. We did that. We talked about toe, reinforcement, actual throat, theoretical throat, leg length, things of those nature. So we identified the parts of a fillet weld and a groove weld. Described the 4 welding positions for plate. We did that last week as well. That was the 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 1F, 2F, 3F, 4F. So we had fillet weld and groove welds in 1, 2, 3s, and 4s position. 1 being flat, 2 horizontal, 3 vertical, and 4 overhead. And then G and F, fillet and groove, depending on what type of weld joint you had, or weld. So compare and contrast 5 basic weld joints. We did that too. We talked about a butt weld, corner weld, T-joint, edge joint, and a lap weld. So we identified those 5 basic joints and the types of weld each joint had. Today we're going to talk about distinguishing the actual welding position associated with 4 positions for pipe and interpret the information conveyed in basic weld symbols. We might get to 5 today. I don't know. We might say 5. We might make this one a short video and save 5 for Wednesday. So just again, real quick, as I scroll through, I got to scroll through it anyway, so we'll take the time to reflect. Parts of the weld, we had the face, the toe, root, reinforcement, leg, actual throat, effective throat, theoretical throat, and heat affected zone. You can find all those right here. We went through those quite extensively. You guys did really well on your quizzes on this, by the way. Speaking of quizzes, if you haven't been doing them, get them done, please. I need your participation for the rest of this year. That work ethic doesn't go unnoticed. Then types of weld joints. We went through groove and fillet welds for butt joints. Not a fillet weld. There's only one can apply there. And then fillet welds for corner joints, edge joints. Actually, groove weld there for an edge joint. And then lap joint, T-joint. We went over the 5 basic joint types. We also established there are 2 types of welds, right? Only 2 types of welds. Groove weld and fillet weld. And then here's your edge joint, your corner joint, T-joint, lap joint, and butt joint. And then welding positions. Went over those already. You've got your flat, which are 1, your 2s, horizontal, 3 vertical, and 4 overhead. So today we're going to talk about welding certification positions. And this is for pipe. Welding certification tests are performed in various positions using different types of materials. Plate and pipe tests are commonly used with either fillet or groove welds. The position are designated by number, while joint types are designated by letters, as shown in figure 4 and 5. So it's saying that the positions are designated by the number. We've already established that 1, 2, 3, 4 with plate. We're going to get into, we're going to add 1 and take away. We don't have a 3G in plate. We've got a 5G in that's place. So we'll get to that here in a second. But and then the letters F and G designate the type of weld, fillet or groove. So the coating system for structural plate, we already went over that. Let's get into pipe. Certification positions for pipe welding. They're pretty easy and still very similar to what we had with plate. 1, pipe is in a horizontal position that is rolled, not fixed. So the pipe can be rotated while welding. So you're going to have fixed, or what's called fixed or restricted. And those, the letter R would follow, like let's say 6G R would mean that the 6G position is a restricted or locked down position. 2, pipe is fixed vertical position. 5, pipe is fixed horizontal position. And 6, pipe is fixed in a 45 position, 45 degree. R is restricted position. F is fillet weld. G is groove weld. Generally, pipe is a groove weld, unless you're welding a pipe to a flange or a base plate. So restricted positions mean that when welding, your position is restricted and areas to be welded are difficult to reach. For example, a 5GR pipe weld is completed in the fixed horizontal position with some type of position restrictions, such as two other pipes nearby that would restrict access to the welds to be completed. So in review, you have a 1G, which is in a horizontal position and it rotates. It's not fixed. Your 2G, I'm sorry, your 1G is in a flat position that does not rotate. 2G, same thing, or that does rotate. 2G does not. 5G, your fixed position horizontally, and then 6G, you're in a fixed position at a 45-degree angle. It's really pretty simple. It's really pretty basic. Go over this this section in your textbook, and I think we got enough time. We're gonna go ahead and knock out this basic weld symbols real quick. So basic weld symbols. Weld symbols are used by engineers and architects to show the types of welds on a structural plan. The welder can see from the plans how to complete the weld. Weld symbols are bent arrow or leader line with an arrowhead pointing to the weld location. A series of symbols are used on the arrow body, also called the reference line, to indicate the type of weld. If the symbols are under the reference line, then the weld is to be completed on the side that the arrow head is pointing to, otherwise known as arrow side. If the weld symbol is above the reference line, then the weld is to be completed on the side opposite of where the arrowhead is pointing, so other side. If there are symbols on both the top and bottom of the reference line, then the welds are to be completed on both sides. Figure 6 shows an example of a double fillet weld on a T-joint and a single fillet weld on a lap joint, and the corresponding weld symbols. Figure 7 shows the different groove weld symbols. So just to recap, you guys should know all this stuff. This is really basic. We went over this earlier this year. You've got an arrowhead with a reference line. You've got a fillet weld symbol on the top and bottom. That's a double fillet weld. So you've got a fillet weld arrow side and other side. You look up here, you've got a lap joint with the fillet weld to be performed on the arrow side as well. And that's what that looks like. So this weld symbol, it is a T-joint with a double fillet. You've got a fillet weld on either side. This weld symbol is a fillet weld on a lap joint that shows the lap joint weld to be made. And then you have a bunch of different weld joints. You got a square groove. It's got two lines, either top or bottom of the reference line. A bevel groove, same thing. Vertical leg down and a leg kicking out to the side. A double bevel looks like a big K. A double bevel has to be arrow side and other side. There's no other way to do that. A V groove. Those V grooves are what you're going to find in your D11 structural tests that you'll be taking next year now. I'm just going to have a few of you take it this year. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. But those V grooves, you're going to have to become real familiar with those. That structural steel or that structural D11 certification, that's a V groove. Both of them cut at 22.5-degree bevels with a 45-degree included bevel. So you'll get real familiar with the V groove. Then you got a double V groove that looks like a big X, a J groove. Pay attention to that one. That one's going to be tricky, but it's also going to be on your quiz after this. Now, all these will, as a matter of fact. Double J groove, U groove, and a double U groove. Double U groove kind of looks like your little hooey hats or whatever they're called that you wear. In conclusion, again, it's telling you you're like a doctor. Just as a doctor familiarizes himself with the human anatomy, you as a welder must familiarize yourself with the information included in this reference. Knowing the parts of a weld and the various positions welders use when working with them is among the fundamentals professional welders must master. So all joking aside, even though you are a bunch of doctors now, it is very important to understand these things. These are everyday words, terminologies that are used in our trade and should be taken very seriously. You guys should be really paying attention to this. I know a lot of this is review, but that's kind of the point of this whole thing. is that we don't let the information that we would use on a regular basis in lab and in classrooms slip away in this extended period of time away from the school. So make sure you look for the follow-up quiz for this. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope everybody stays safe. Get out and get some fresh air. Stay away from people. Try to let this thing pass so we can get back to school as soon as possible. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you Wednesday.